Ladies and gentlemen, there are times in life when our own thoughts become our biggest obstacle. You may not be fighting people. You may not be struggling against circumstances, but you're fighting your own mind. Those whispers that say, you'll never make it. Those feelings that say, you're not good enough. Those reminders of your past, your failures, your limits. But I want to tell you today, you are not what your negative thoughts say you are. You are who God says you are: strong, capable, chosen, and destined to rise higher. You were never meant to live weighed down by doubt, worry, and fear. You were created to live with a victorious mindset, a mindset of faith, confidence, and peace. If you can rise above negative thinking, you can rise above anything. Not every thought that crosses your mind deserves your attention. Some thoughts are planted by fear, some are shaped by your past, and some are inspired by faith. The problem is we often believe the wrong ones. We allow negative, defeating, and discouraging thoughts to take root and shape how we see ourselves and our future. But just because a thought comes doesn't mean it's true. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it defines who you are. You are not your thoughts. You are the chooser of your thoughts. So many people live beneath their potential because they never learned how to guard their mind. They believe every whisper that comes their way. Thoughts like, you'll never overcome this. You're not talented enough. You'll always be stuck where you are. You don't have what it takes if you're not careful. Those lies become your internal soundtrack. You start living from them, speaking from them, and building your future on them. But hear this clearly. You were created with power over your mind. You have authority over your thoughts. You don't have to accept every idea that enters your head. You can reject the negative and embrace the positive. You can refuse the lies and stand on truth. When the enemy wants to stop your destiny, he doesn't start by taking away your opportunity. He starts by attacking your mind. He'll say things like, you're not qualified. You're too old. It's too late. Everyone else is ahead of you. If you believe those lies, you'll limit what God wants to do in your life. But the moment you start to rise above those thoughts, the moment you say, I may not see it yet, but I know God is working for my good, everything begins to shift. Your thoughts are like seeds. Whatever you plant in your mind will grow in your life. If you plant doubt, fear, and worry, you'll harvest stress and defeat. But if you plant hope, faith, and gratitude, you'll harvest peace, joy, and victory. You can't live a life of abundance with a mind full of negativity. You can't walk in purpose while your mind is stuck in pessimism. Every time a thought comes that doesn't align with faith, you have a decision to make. You can either agree with it or dismiss it. The Bible says, take every thought captive. That means don't let every idea just wander freely through your mind. Challenge it, question it. Ask yourself, does this thought help me move forward or hold me back? Does it reflect God's truth or my fear? Is it building me up or tearing me down? If it doesn't bring peace, reject it. If it doesn't align with hope, release it. If it doesn't lead to growth, replace it. You can't stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. In the same way, you can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, but you don't have to let them settle and grow roots. Some people live in constant defeat, not because of their circumstances, but because of their mindset. They're not chained by their situation. They're chained by their thinking. They say things like, "I'll never get out of debt. I'll never find the right person. I'll never be healthy again." And as long as they keep thinking that way, they keep living that way. What you constantly think about, you eventually believe. What you believe, you eventually become. Your mind is a battlefield. You can't win the war of life with a defeated mindset. You must train your mind to align with truth, not feelings. Feelings fluctuate, truth remains. Feelings will tell you that you're forgotten, but truth says, God will never leave you nor forsake you. Feelings say, you failed too many times, but truth says, God's mercies are new every morning. Feelings say, you can't do it, but truth says, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. When you start choosing truth over lies, your entire perspective changes. You stop living under condemnation and start walking in confidence. You stop being driven by fear and start being fueled by faith. That's how you rise above negative thinking, by replacing every lie with a greater truth. When those thoughts whisper, "You're not good enough," remind yourself, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made." When they tell you, you've missed your chance, say, "My times are in God's hands." When they say, "You'll never get through this," declare, "If God is for me, who can be against me?" You have to become your own encourager. Don't wait for others to lift you up. Speak life over yourself. Declare victory before you see it. Speak healing even when you're still hurting. Speak breakthrough even when the door hasn't opened yet. Because your words are powerful and they reflect your thoughts. If you keep saying what's wrong, you'll stay in what's wrong. But if you start speaking what's right, even before you see it, your words will start shaping your reality. It begins with how you think. Change your thoughts, and you'll change your life. Maybe you've developed a habit of negative thinking. Maybe you've been hurt, betrayed, or disappointed so often that negativity feels natural. But today can be your turning point. You can make the decision to stop feeding what's against you and start feeding what's for you. Every time a negative thought comes, talk back to it. You don't have to accept its message. Say, "No, that's not who I am. That's not my destiny. That's not what God promised me." You can't always control what comes to your mind, but you can control what stays there. Let's be honest. Life will always give you reasons to think negatively. There will always be delays, disappointments, and detours. But if you let your mind dwell on what's wrong, you'll miss what's right. If you stay focused on what didn't work out, you'll overlook what God is working out. When something doesn't go your way, don't let your mind spiral into defeat. Instead of thinking, "I knew this would happen," start saying, "This is not how my story ends." Instead of thinking, "I always fail," say, "This setback is just a setup for my comeback." God never promised that negative thoughts wouldn't come. He promised you the power to overcome them. You have the strength to rise above the noise of doubt, fear, and discouragement. But it starts in your mind. Your future isn't determined by what people say about you. It's determined by what you believe about yourself. If you believe you're limited, you'll live limited. But if you believe that you're chosen, equipped, and destined for greatness, you'll walk with a new confidence. You'll start seeing doors open that others thought were impossible. There's a reason the enemy attacks your mind. Because he knows if he can control your thoughts, he can control your life. But he's already defeated. You have divine authority to rise above every negative voice, every defeating thought, and every limiting belief. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you realize. You've made it through storms that should have broken you. Don't let negative thoughts convince you otherwise. You didn't come this far by accident. You came this far because God's hand is on your life. So every morning when you wake up, make the decision, I'm not believing every thought that enters my mind. I'm choosing faith over fear, truth over lies, hope over worry. When you rise above negative thinking, you rise into peace. You rise into purpose. You rise into the fullness of who you were created to be. And once your mind is free, your life will follow. Your mind is like a television. Every day it's broadcasting different channels. One channel plays fear, another plays doubt, another plays worry. Then there's the faith channel, the hope channel, the victory channel. The question is, which one are you watching? You can't live a peaceful, powerful life if you keep your mind tuned to the wrong channel. You can't expect joy if all you listen to are the voices of defeat. Many people go through life feeling anxious, hopeless, and discouraged, not because of what's happening around them, but because of what they're replaying in their minds. If you want to rise higher, you've got to learn how to change the channel. When negative thoughts start running, you'll never make it. You don't have what it takes. You'll always be stuck here. Don't sit and listen to them. Don't analyze them. Don't rehearse them. Just change the channel. Switch your mind to what God says about you. I am strong in the Lord. I am favored. I am chosen. I am blessed and unstoppable. When you make that shift, you take back your mental authority. You're saying, my mind doesn't control me. I control my mind. You wouldn't sit through a movie that makes you miserable. You wouldn't keep listening to music that makes you cry all the time. You'd turn it off. Yet many of us allow negative thoughts to play in our mind for hours, even days, without interruption. We let one small worry become a full-blown story of fear. We let one setback replay over and over until it becomes our identity. It's time to take hold of the remote and change the narrative. You can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, but you can refuse to give them airtime. Imagine this: you turn on your mental television and see the fear channel. It's broadcasting every worst case scenario. What if you lose your job? What if the sickness doesn't leave? What if your dreams never come true? The longer you stay on that channel, the heavier you'll feel. Anxiety builds. Faith weakens. Peace disappears. But when you change to the faith channel, you start hearing a different report. God is working all things together for your good. You are surrounded by favor. You're coming into a season of restoration. Suddenly, your spirit lifts. Your outlook shifts, and strength rises up inside you. The thoughts you allow determine the atmosphere you live in. You can't live in joy while your mind is tuned to sadness. You can't walk in faith while your mind is playing fear. You can't experience victory while your mind is broadcasting defeat. Every thought carries a certain energy. Some thoughts drain you, others fill you. Negative thoughts pull you down like gravity. They weigh on your soul, sap your confidence, and blur your vision. But positive, faith-filled thoughts lift you. They breathe new life into your heart. They remind you that even if the situation looks impossible, God is still in control. Changing the channel doesn't mean pretending the problem doesn't exist. It means refusing to give the problem the final word. It means acknowledging reality, but choosing to focus on God's promise instead of your pain. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts often set the tone for your whole day. If you immediately start replaying worries, I have too much to do, I'm so tired, I don't think I can handle this day, you've tuned into the wrong frequency. Before you even get out of bed, change the channel. Start declaring, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Something good is on its way to me today. Doors are opening, blessings are flowing, and peace is mine." You don't have to wait for circumstances to change before you change your thoughts. The shift begins on the inside. When your mindset changes, your life begins to change with it. There will always be something trying to pull your attention back to the negative channel. The unfair boss, the slow progress, the unanswered prayer. But every time those thoughts come, you have to be disciplined enough to switch back. The first few times it takes effort, but soon it becomes your habit. Maybe you've been replaying an old episode in your mind. A mistake you made, a breakup that hurt you, a loss you still can't understand. Every time you think about it, it drains your joy and steals your peace. Friend, it's time to change the channel. You can't go forward while your mind is stuck in yesterday. That painful memory is not your home. It's a place you passed through. You can visit it long enough to learn, but don't live there. Don't let your mind build a house in a season God already delivered you from. Every day, you have a choice: replay the pain or play the promise. You can dwell on the problem or dwell on God's presence. The more you focus on what's wrong, the bigger it becomes. But the more you focus on what's right, on God's faithfulness, on His goodness, on His word, the smaller your worries will appear. Think about what you're feeding your mind. If all you consume is negative news, critical conversations, and comparisons on social media, it's no wonder you feel weighed down. You can't fill your mind with poison and expect peace. You have to be intentional about what you let in. Feed your faith, not your fears. Spend time listening to uplifting messages, reading words of hope, and surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. Let your thoughts marinate in what's positive, pure, and peaceful. The mind doesn't just reflect your life, it directs it. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your days. When your thoughts are full of gratitude, your life feels full. When your thoughts are filled with expectation, your days become exciting. When your thoughts are aligned with faith, your future unfolds in strength and confidence. If you want to rise above where you are, you must rise above what you think. You can't control the weather, the economy, or other people's choices. But you can control what you meditate on. You can control what plays in your head all day long. Let your inner dialogue match the promises of God. When you face challenges, instead of saying, "This is too hard," start saying, "I'm equipped for this." When you feel like giving up, change the channel and say, "I'm closer than I think to my breakthrough." When you're tempted to think, "Nothing good ever happens to me," switch it to, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life." You're the director of your inner movie. If you don't like the story that's playing, rewrite it. Don't sit through another season of the same depressing reruns. It's time for a new episode, one filled with faith, courage, and hope. When you keep your mind fixed on what's positive and pure, you rise above every distraction. Negative people can't pull you down. Circumstances can't shake your peace. You become unmovable, Not because everything is perfect, but because your focus is right. Remember, whatever you magnify becomes bigger. If you magnify your problems, they'll overwhelm you. But if you magnify your God, everything else starts to shrink. That's why Scripture says, set your mind on things above, not on things of the earth. So take charge of your mental screen today. When doubt plays, switch to faith. When fear plays, switch to courage. When defeat plays, switch to victory. When self-pity plays, switch to gratitude. Don't let your mind be an open field for negativity to grow. You are in control. The power to rise above is already within you. The moment you decide to change the channel, you begin to change your destiny. Because the truth is, your life will always follow the direction of your dominant thoughts. So, choose wisely. Keep your heart focused on what uplifts you, your mind tuned to what strengthens you, and your spirit aligned with the promises of God. When you live this way, peace becomes your default setting. Joy becomes your natural state. Hope becomes your perspective. And no matter what comes your way, you'll know how to rise above it, one thought at a time. If you want to rise above negative thinking, you must pay attention to your environment, because your environment shapes your mindset. You can't fill your mind with negativity all week and expect to live with peace and joy. You can't spend your time around people who constantly complain, criticize, and doubt, and still expect to think with faith, hope, and confidence. Who you surround yourself with matters more than you think. The voices you hear most often become the voices that echo in your mind. If you're constantly surrounded by people who see problems in every opportunity, eventually you'll start seeing the same. If you're always listening to those who talk defeat, doubt, and fear, soon your faith will start to shrink. But when you surround yourself with people who believe in possibilities, who speak life and hope, who remind you that God is bigger than your circumstances, that atmosphere changes everything. Positivity and faith are contagious. So is negativity. The question is, which one are you catching? You can't expect to fly like an eagle if you keep walking with turkeys. You can't soar in faith if you stay grounded in fear-filled conversations. You can't reach your highest potential while constantly listening to people who tell you what can't be done. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for your peace of mind is to create distance between yourself and negativity. That doesn't mean you stop loving people, but it means you start protecting your spirit. You can love people from a distance and still guard your heart. You have to be intentional about what and who you allow into your space. The people you listen to, the music you play, the conversations you entertain, they all shape your thought life. If you keep feeding your mind discouragement, doubt, and defeat, you'll live in that atmosphere. But if you start feeding it faith, hope, and gratitude, you'll rise above. You were never meant to live surrounded by darkness. God created you to be a light. But if you constantly surround yourself with the wrong influences, that light can become dim. You'll start to feel tired, unmotivated, and confused. Not because something's wrong with you, but because your environment is draining your energy. Sometimes you have to make bold decisions to preserve your peace. You may need to limit your time with people who always talk about what's wrong, who always predict failure, who only see problems but never solutions. You can't afford to let their negativity infect your mind. There's a story of a man who had a garden full of healthy, vibrant plants. Every day, he watered them, trimmed them, and gave them sunlight. But one day, he noticed weeds beginning to grow. At first, he ignored them, thinking they were harmless. But over time, the weeds spread and began to choke the life out of the plants. He eventually realized that if he wanted to protect the garden, he had to pull out the weeds. Your mind works the same way. Faith, hope, and positivity are the healthy plants. But negativity, fear, and doubt are the weeds. If you let them stay too long, if you let negative people and toxic influences remain unchecked, they'll choke your peace and rob your joy. It's not enough to just remove the weeds. You have to fill your garden with good seed. You need people in your life who water your faith, who remind you of your potential, who speak encouragement over you when you forget who you are. Maybe you've been around people who constantly tell you what you're not, what you can't do, or what you'll never become. It's time to start hearing a new voice, the voice that says, you are chosen, you are capable, you are destined for greatness. That's the voice of faith. When you start surrounding yourself with faith-filled people, it shifts your mindset. Their confidence becomes your confidence. Their encouragement becomes your fuel. Their optimism reminds you to look up when life tries to pull you down. The truth is, you don't rise in isolation. You rise in association. Your inner circle is a reflection of where you're headed. If you spend your time with those who think small, you'll eventually shrink your dreams to fit their perspective. But if you spend your time with those who think big, who dream bold, and who believe that God can do the impossible, your faith will begin to grow. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do have to know the difference between people who lift you and people who drain you. Some people add to your peace. Others subtract from it. Some people multiply your faith. Others divide your energy. You can love everyone, but you can't give everyone access to your mind. Guard your peace like it's your greatest treasure, because it is. Peace is the soil where faith grows. Negativity is the poison that kills it. Think about it. When you spend time with positive, faith-driven people, you walk away feeling lighter, inspired, and hopeful. But when you spend time with negative, bitter, and critical people, you leave feeling heavy, doubtful, and defeated. That's not a coincidence. That's the power of influence. If you want to rise above negative thinking, fill your environment with what uplifts your soul. Listen to messages that strengthen your spirit. Read words that feed your faith. Play music that lifts your heart. Watch things that bring peace to your mind. And most importantly, spend time with people who remind you of who you are in God. You don't need to be around people who only see the storm. You need those who remind you there's a rainbow coming. You don't need to walk with those who complain about the mountain. You need those who help you climb it. You don't need people who magnify the problem. You need those who magnify the promise. There will always be those who try to pull you back into negativity. They'll say, "You've changed." And that's okay. You have. You're not the same person you used to be. You've grown. You've learned to guard your peace, to protect your thoughts, to live by faith and not by fear. Don't feel guilty for growing beyond environments that no longer serve your purpose. If someone constantly feeds your doubt, stop giving them your ear. If a conversation always ends with you feeling small, stop participating in it. You don't owe anyone your mental health. You owe yourself peace, growth, and alignment with God's truth. You have to choose your company with the same care you choose your future, because one always affects the other. And here's the good news. You don't have to wait for perfect people to come into your life. you can start creating a positive environment right where you are. Fill your home with praise. Speak life into your atmosphere. Start your day with gratitude. When you make your environment a place of faith, negativity won't be comfortable staying there. When you surround yourself with positivity and faith, you rise above the noise of fear. You start to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You begin to walk with peace instead of pressure. You stop reacting to negativity and start responding with grace. Your mindset changes because your atmosphere changes. You begin to expect good things. You start to believe again. And as your thoughts lift, your life lifts with them. So, be intentional. Protect your peace. Surround yourself with people who see your value, not your flaws. Stay close to those who help you remember who you are, not those who make you question it. Because the truth is, when you surround yourself with positivity and faith, you won't have to chase peace. Peace will chase you. You won't have to force joy. Joy will flow naturally. You won't have to fight negativity. It won't survive in the atmosphere of faith you've created. Rise above negative thinking by rising above negative environments. Let faith be your company. Let peace be your companion. And let gratitude be your atmosphere. When you do, you'll live lighter, think clearer, and see life through the eyes of hope, just as you were always meant to. When you look back over your life, you'll see that most of the battles you faced didn't start in the world around you. They started in your mind. The real war was never between you and other people or between you and your circumstances. It was between faith and fear, hope and doubt, truth and lies, all fighting for space in your thoughts. But the good news is this: you are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the master of them. You don't have to live weighed down by worry, guilt, or negativity. You have the power to renew your mind, to rise higher, and to see yourself the way God sees you. Every great change begins with a change in thinking. When you stop believing every negative voice and start believing the promises of God, your entire outlook begins to shift. What once felt impossible begins to look possible. What once felt heavy begins to feel hopeful. The same situation that used to defeat you can no longer control you, because your mindset has changed. You may not be able to control what comes your way, but you can control how you think about it. You can't stop the storm, but you can choose your perspective in the middle of it. And when your perspective is anchored in faith, no amount of negativity can pull you down. Remember, negative thinking will always try to attach itself to you. It will whisper lies, it will replay your failures, it will exaggerate your fears. But every time it comes, you can rise above it. You can say, no, I'm not believing that. I'm not dwelling on that. My mind belongs to peace. My thoughts belong to faith. My heart belongs to God. Don't let your past define your future. Don't let one dark moment convince you that your whole life is dim. There's still light ahead of you. There's still purpose waiting for you. There's still joy that belongs to you. Fill your mind with gratitude instead of grumbling, with possibility instead of pity, with truth instead of lies. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, not pull you down. Speak life, not limitation. Choose to see the good, even when life gives you reasons not to. And when those moments of doubt come, when you feel overwhelmed, discouraged, or afraid, pause and remind yourself, this is not where I'm staying. I'm rising above this. I've come too far to let negativity define me now. God has placed greatness inside of you. He has given you the power to think new thoughts, to renew your mind, and to live in peace. Your destiny is too important to be controlled by fear, worry, or defeat. So today, make that decision. Rise above the noise. Rise above the doubt. Rise above the fear. Because on the other side of negative thinking is a life filled with faith, joy, strength, and unshakable peace. The life you were born to live. Keep your heart full, your mind focused, and your words full of faith. The higher you think, the higher you'll rise.